Offense was not the problem for the Cleveland Guardians at Fenway Park, but it was a pitcher trying to make his case for the rest of this year in 2026 who helped them walk away with an important win.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Victory! Guardians come away with a win in Fenway. We're here to talk about it on today's episode of Locked On Guardians. It's our favorite half hour of the day, whether they win or lose. We hope it is yours as well, because we're talking Cleveland Guardians for the next half hour, from the majors to the minors, the draft, and everything in between. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, your Cleveland Guardians, every single day. I'm Justin Lada, one of your two co-hosts here. I've been co-hosting this podcast with my friend and co-host Jeff Ellis since October of 2022. And previously and currently, I've spent the last 18 years covering the Guardians minor league system, providing prospect analysis and scouting reports.
As you mentioned, I am Jeff Ellis, one of your two co-hosts here, one of the OG hosts of Locked On when they expanded baseball. For that, I was a national writer at Scout and 24/7, focused on prospects in the draft. I want to thank everyone for joining us and making today's show your first listen. I completely lost my words there. First listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. Sorry, I got a bad case of teacher brain right now. And a big shout out to all of our everydayers everywhere who are joining us after a big win, after offensive explosion in Boston. They only got one game, but the offense was there. And then there were some really fun minor league performances. We'll talk about tomorrow, some of them. But if you want to find about them early, make sure to check out Justin's newsletter, because they'll all be written up in there tomorrow.
Yes, you can always find it there. On today's episode of Locked On Guardians, one minor leaguer we'll talk about from AA, who is not a minor leaguer, but it's Lane Thomas. We'll talk about how he and John Means fit into this roster, which is, again, confusing, as we said yesterday. We'll talk about the Guardians' odd lineup on Wednesday, even though it led to a win, and different guys contributing in that one. But we're starting off today's show with, maybe I should say, two pitchers, Jeff, who are making a case for the rest of this season, but also 2026. Before we get into that fun discussion, Jeff, today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the USA. Visit the number 5hewin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025. Joey Cantillo. I think that it is going to be an important year for him. Not necessarily a big year. I think it's a big year. But it's going to be an important year for him because, A, he's going to be out of options next season. B, the Guardians really, really want Joey Cantillo to succeed because he has the stuff to be a good starter in the major leagues. And let me tell you this. I know the Red Sox didn't have Roman Anthony at the top of the lineup, but I don't think it would have mattered. Joey Cantillo pitched the best game he's pitched in quite some time. He's had a good run at different points this season, but he had to go back to AAA, A, because of a numbers game, but B, because Cleveland wanted him to focus more on control because they think that when he tries to be too fine with his command or control, he loses velocity where he needs to let his stuff go and let it play because the stuff is really good. And you saw it in Fenway Park. Fenway Park is not an easy place to pitch, especially for a left-hander. Parker Messick struggled there a little bit. Garrett Crochet struggled in his own ballpark on Tuesday against this vaunted Guardians offense. And then the Red Sox started a lefty in a bullpen game, Brennan Bernardino, and he gave up a run as well. So 2026, but also the rest of 2025, a very important time for Joey Cantillo because the Guardians are now going to a 6-man rotation. He's going to be up the rest of the year in theory. So now it's time for Joey to, kind of put up or shut up, and hopefully he makes his case for 2026.
It's time for him to stop being a Joey and become a kangaroo.
That's such a dad joke.
It is. When you're looking at Joey Cantillo, the stuff has always been so good, and the secondary offerings are that, like, all the parts and pieces are there. It's just like command your pitches, and through better command, you'll have better control. That's the thing. Like, command and control are different. You can have great control and not good command, and you can have, but very rarely do you see bad command or good command and bad control. Right. And part of me wonders too, watching him, this came to mind, like, this front office loves extension. Maybe he extends too much. He's got some of the best extension on the team. It's like is he like just too far out there? And it makes like, I don't know. There are smarter minds than me who can attack this and try and figure it out. But, he's always been this kind of like magical piece because of how good those secondary offerings are, because of velocity, because he's a lefty and he's a great athlete. It's like, you can't let arms like him get away. So you're hoping he can figure it out, especially because you can never have enough starting pitching depth, especially if you're this team, because there's going to be a lot of teams in need. And we'll talk about this offseason, but if you can convince yourself or convince another team that Cantillo is a starter for sure, then, it's a massive trade asset, or it allows you to trade someone else because of depth. And there's always going to be pathways to trading starters for pretty much everything else in baseball. Like, teams always need starters. So it's his pitching ceiling is up there with anyone, in my opinion, on this team because of the developed pitching set. Like, if he could figure out his command, he could be the best pitcher on this team.
Yeah, the stuff is certainly there. And I don't know if I'm tempted to say no on being the best pitcher on this team, because I think Gavin's got better stuff straight up than Joey. The fastball is better.
Just the advantage of being a lefty seems to, like, because you face so few of them, it seems that there's just a degree of.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you to the point that he has the best changeup on the team, and that includes Tanner. Tanner's got a great changeup. Cantillo's is better. It just is. And that's going to help him against right-handers quite a bit. And the fastball, first of all, the fastball command and control has to get better for him. That's the biggest thing. He only had 2 walks in this game. The Red Sox are a good lineup, and that's a tough ballpark to pitch in for a guy who has had his ups and downs throughout his career, especially this year with control and command. And Roman Anthony or no Roman Anthony, that Red Sox team has been rolling lately. They have a good lineup. They've hit lefties well this year. They have a couple of platoon guys. Lineup. It is. They have Rob Refsnyder, who's a great platoon bat. Romy Gonzalez is having a great year, and probably nobody talks about Romy Gonzalez. 833 OPS. He'd be second on the Guardians.
I love that movie he had with Michelle in the late 90s.
Yes, that was one of my favorites as well, because I'm a big Friends and Lisa Kudrow fan, so I saw that movie plenty of times. So good for him for changing careers late in his life. Yep. It's a good Boston lineup, and Joey Cantillo was in control of this game. Like, there was only one inning where I think I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is looking kind of iffy for Joey. And
second with nobody out, right? What inning was that?
That was the second inning, I think, where he allowed the first runner to reach. I think it was Romy Gonzalez, actually. And then he got Michelle out. No, he got out of that inning without giving up a run, and he saved it until later. So only 2 walks in this one. So I would not consider trading Joey Cantillo. I know what you're saying as a trade asset, but the guy does not have is not arbitration eligible till 2028. So, and he's under contract till 2030. So I don't know. There's a couple years left there where I would have a hard time giving up on
trade
that.
Something to get something, but I get it. That's the risk, but that's also the enticement, right? Like, it's all sides.
It is, it is, but also he's going to be out of options next year.
He's no Ben Lively. He has no.
He's got to be on the major league roster. And yeah, speaking of next year, like, you really don't know what you're going to get out of Ben Lively next year, because he's coming off of 2 serious arm surgeries. Recovery time is long there. You want to preserve Parker Messick for depth next year. You still have Gavin and Logan and Tanner. So you want to hang on to some of that depth a little bit. So I'd be remiss to trade Joey, but if you get a great offer, I wouldn't say no. But I think next year is going to be huge for him, because he's got to stick in the rotation. I think the rest of this year is huge, because essentially this is kind of his final audition for what he's going to go into the offseason looking like. And the Guardians are not totally out of this race yet. The Mariners lost on Wednesday. The Mariners cannot play on the road at all. They are terrible. And they've got another 3-game series after this on the road. So their road trip is not over. The Guardians are going to Tampa Bay this week, and for a 4-game set, and they're tied with the Mariners in the Rays in terms of the wild card. And then they go to Kansas City, or Kansas City comes here, and they're the team that's directly ahead of Cleveland in the wild card race. So it's kind of all jumbled in the middle. So a lot of guys here could do a lot of interesting things. We'll have a future conversation about the importance of playing meaningful baseball during the season, even when things have gone bad. But we'll talk about the Guardians lineup. They scored 8 runs in this one. They had a great series in Boston, and the lineups were a little bit confusing. We'll talk about why next on today's Locked On Guardians.
Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5-Hour Energy Transfusion. The grape, ginger, and lime flavored shot brings the iconic taste of the golf course to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Whether you're out on the course or just need a little extra push to power you through the day. 5-Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. As I'm a terrible golfer, but you can be a terrible golfer. We all know it takes one shot to get you back out there, right? It takes one good shot to be like, oh, I think I finally figured it out. You'll be able to get through all the terrible ones to get to that great one with the help of 5-Hour Energy. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. The grape, ginger, lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of the clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the bev cart. Now you can amp up the fun even more. Just buy, snap, or enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for 2 to any golf tournament in the USA. Tee up that trip. Visit the number 5, HEWin.com for full rules and entry. No purchase necessary. Excludes the Masters tournament. Ends October 31st, 2025.
All right, thanks for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today, every day, wherever you get podcasts. As always, make sure you're auto-downloading on all your audio platforms so you never miss an episode. There's a lot to talk about right now, so you're not going to want to miss it. And then, of course, on YouTube, hit the bell for post-game reactions, any kind of news that breaks, as well as the Only Squad show and other bonus content that'll be coming your way back next week. Jeff, the Guardians' offense, pretty good in Boston. Good enough they could have actually swept this series. We've seen some interesting things this series. Steven Kwan is resurfacing in September like he has done the last couple of seasons. Kyle Manzardo didn't have a great day on Wednesday, but he did have a double. I'm sorry, they took the double away from him. It was an error. He got the second base, but still the ball hard.
That was a bad call,
in
my opinion. That should have been a hit.
Your boy Gabriel Arias left the ballpark in a good way, and CJ Kafis 2 for 3 with a couple of doubles and a sac fly. So overall, a good offensive game. And that being said, Jose Ramirez did have a walk, and that's all he did. And Angel Martinez had a hit and a walk, and I still can't for the life of me figure out why Angel Martinez is batting second. And George Valera got his first hit of his major league career, so congrats to him. The lineups, though, I'm just so confused. Like, Kafis has struggled, so he hit 8th. I get that, but like we still have Bo Naylor hitting high in the lineup. Jhonkensy Noel had 3 hits the other day, and then of course he comes out and looks terrible. And Angel Martinez is hitting second. But we're complaining, and they scored 15 runs the last 2 days, and they scored 19 in the series, right? They scored 4 on Monday.
Wasn't it 4, 6, and 7? No, how many? They ended up with 8 today, right? Was it 8? And it was terrible.
7, yeah. It was 4, 7, and 8.
4, 7, and 8. So it'd be 19 total.
Yeah.
So
that should win you 3 games. That should win you 3 games.
It's interesting. First off, congratulations to Valera. They're not playing him a whole bunch in this series, so I do wonder if he'll be here when Thomas comes back up. He had the 1 start, and then other than that, he had the pinch hit. So congrats on that single. It's awesome for a guy who's had the health issues he's had. He was Chase DeLauder before Chase DeLauder when it came to health. So I'm just happy for him that no matter what happens, that he got that hit today. And then, Gabby Arias he's a polarizing figure. It's always amazing to me the number of people who love Angel, who's been arguably the worst hitter on the team. And if you look at his Savant page, he runs well, and that's pretty much it, who hate Gabby or view him as a loafer. He's probably going to be one of the 5 best defensive second basemen in baseball, or shortstops, I should say. And if you go back again to that loss against the Mariners, if you have Gabby at short with his arm, they get Julio out. There's no need for an instant replay. So I'm going to say the Mariners intentionally hurt him because they knew that was going to happen. And then it's those moments like, listen, yes, he has a lot of bad at-bats. I am not going to defend the at-bats. They are not, he needs some work there. But when he gets into some, he's got some of the most effortless power on this team. Like just that swing and that ball clearing the yard. For a guy with his size, it's just unreal the amount of power he can just naturally tap into. And that was always, No, he was the centerpiece in the Clevenger deal. It was not Cantillo. It was not Quantrell, who had been a top 10 pick. It wasn't Josh Naylor. It was Gabby Arias. That was the centerpiece in that deal because of the tools and the potential plus defense, plus hitter. I don't know if he's ever going to be a plus hitter, but man, if he can get just close to average with his pop, like it could be huge for this team. I don't know what the outcome is. It's so much good and bad with him, but God, you just take that defense and some chances for power. And I like having him in there, even when it's not going well.
Yeah, +5 outs above average at shortstop this year. Actually, it was a even 0 at second base before he moved to shortstop. So he got better as a shortstop than he did second base, but he was not a bad defender at second. I'd argue, again, the importance of him playing a good second base because of his arm. You're involved in a lot of relays, too, like Andres Jimenez had been, and that really benefited them a lot last year. I think Gabby Arias will have chances next year. You still have Rocchio, and these guys are still playing for wherever they're at in the wild card standings here, and they're also playing for 2026. And there's nobody ready to challenge shortstop next year. Like Angel Henao is not ready next year. You'll have Brito and Bazana, but Bazana's having a rough go over in AAA right now. Brito can't play shortstop, so he's not a threat. The only way he's a threat is if Rocchio can beat him out for shortstop next year. But Arias is out of options, and I don't see how he's not going to continue to get chances because you're right. When you have a guy with that kind of defense and that kind of power, all it takes is a 750 OPS, and he is one of the best players in the team.
No, or they do a trade and he ends up in Tampa and they unlock him like they did with Yandy and Junior, and then Gabby Arias turns into the best shortstop in the American League, right? Like that's what Tampa's done.
So what you're saying is they'll get a pitcher who looks really good but never makes the majors out of that, really, right?
I gotta go see. I don't know who their pitching prospects are now. We can go
I
figure
don't
that out
either.
later. But like,
Yeah.
sorry, I totally derailed the podcast there. Like we just had
As
like
always.
this moment of like
As always.
of
But what
how
a weird
that happened.
lineup. Like this whole series was strange. Like you got Bo Naylor hitting 5th and 6th. You've got Angel hitting
Who's
2nd.
been their worst hitter over the last month is Bo Naylor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, worse than Angel?
I believe so. I believe
that's saying a lot.
I mean, the bottom three are Fry, Angel, and
Bo.
Those are your worst three hitters over the last 30 days.
And yeah, two of those guys are actually all three of those guys are hitting anywhere between 2nd and 6th in this lineup this whole week, which is again so strange. But it didn't matter because they scored again all those runs in Boston. Runs. I want to say runs are easier to come by in Boston because the ballpark is really weird, but they are. I don't know. Weird things happen in Boston. But they also beat up Garrett Crochet for 7 runs, so they should have won that game, and they scored enough to win on Monday as well. Again, the bullpen and Messick just had a really, really tough day. I don't have to make the lineup. I just don't because like Kwan's having his September resurgence as again he continues to do. Jose is still just non-existent right now. Manzaro's had some good days. Noel had one good day, but they continue to put these guys in the spots in the lineup where I'm just like, what is happening here? Like I understand hitting Kafis 8 because he's struggling right now. Even though he had a great day on Wednesday. Hopefully that gets him into gear a little bit. But like, I guess you don't have any of the better options. Like, I don't know how you would stagger the lineup differently. Like, I don't know who hits 2nd. I don't know who hits 5th or 6th. It's a very light roster at this point. But it worked here, and we'll see what happens in Tampa Bay.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah, it's
I don't have too much.
Series
in that park, it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, the Rays just won on Wednesday against Seattle. I think they swept Seattle, so
they did.
The Guardians didn't lose any ground in this series, even though they lost 2 of 3 to Boston. So they are back to 3 games out. But the Royals, I believe, lost, so the Guardians move up with them. And the Rays and the Guardians, I believe, are tied right now for like 2nd or 3rd. The Reds or the Rangers still exist too. So there's a lot of people that are chasing the Mariners, and the Mariners have a 3-game series, I believe, to wrap up their road trip where they can't win on the road. And there are some pitching matchups in Tampa Bay that are not ideal either. We can touch on that real quickly, but we got to talk about 2 guys that are on the verge of rejoining the team. And we already talked about how weird this roster and this lineup is. And they're already going to 6-man rotation. How in the world are Lane Thomas and John Means going to fit on this roster? We'll try to work through that next on the rest of today's Locked On Guardians. Going to the ballpark, it is always the best experience for me. I love the live baseball. I like the energy of the crowd. Just one of those great places to spend time with some of your favorite people as well. Getting the tickets is not a fun part, though. That is tough. Sometimes you get weird screens, weird checkouts, login screens, queues, and you get surprise fees. That makes it less fun. But that's why I use Game Time. I used it last week. I used it earlier in the season after the All-Star break because it gives advantage back to fans like you and I. It's fast, easy. They got the Game Time guarantee. You always get 100% authentic tickets. They're delivered on time at the best price. All fees included. So the price you see on the app is exactly what you pay. You also get a chance to see where the best deals are. You get a chance to see where your seats are. That's important for me because I know in Progressive Field, you want to make sure during day games, you want to sit in the third base side because that's where the sun is at your back. And you're going to be able to get a good view of your seats with Game Time along with the best deal. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that is promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, Jeff. Lane Thomas goes 0 for 3 with a walker, strikeout 0 for 2 with the walker, strikeout in Akron on Wednesday. It's going to be a little bit longer for him to come back. I think they're going to have to build him up and see how healthy he gets. So we're probably talking maybe the week of the 15th is when he comes back, I would guess. John Means has to make at least one more rehab start, so it's probably going to be another week for him as well. My question is, they're already going to a 6-man rotation with Cantillo. They already announced that. Where in the world does he fit with John Means? Because like John Means, we didn't even talk about this between Allen and Williams and Bybee and Cantillo and Messick for next season. We didn't even talk about John Means, and whenever Ben Lively comes back, we didn't even talk about John Means, that whole discussion. I don't know where that leaves Means. I certainly don't want Cantillo to give up his spot in the rotation because I think he's got to continue to pitch to improve his command and control. I think he's the guy you want to, as we said, put himself in position to have a big 2026, whether that's as a trade candidate, like you mentioned, or as a rotation piece. And then I really have no clue on Lane Thomas. Like, I got to be honest, watching Angel Martinez is getting frustrating. So I would just as soon give up Angel Martinez's at-bats for Lane Thomas. But I also don't want to give up at-bats for Capus. I don't want to give up at-bats for Manzardo. If Valera's up, continue to play him. Nolan Jones has played better lately, and he at least has a chance to be here next year, whereas, I don't know, Lane Thomas, I have no idea what kind of deal it's going to take to keep him back. But this roster already is strange on the position player side. We had that discussion earlier this week. So I don't even know how Lane Thomas fits, and you get meaningful at-bats for him while trying to figure out whether or not you're winning in 2025 somehow at this point, or figuring out if you should be building towards 2026. Because if that's the case, Lane Thomas also doesn't really quite fit in there either.
Well, he might. That's the thing. Like, how much do they like him? How much do they trust him? How much could he be a bargain basement signing? Because he's been hurt the last 2 years.
He will be for anybody, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, he could be back. And the problem with Lane Thomas for Angel Martinez is then you just have another outfielder, which they can't afford to do. They just have too many outfielders to begin with. So
why not? Well, yeah,
they need infield depth.
Schneemann and Arias and Rocchio can cover the infield.
You don't, but the problem is, like, you're not going to have enough bats. Like, even if Capus and Manzardo play every day, Kwan's going to play every day. That means center field has to be Nolan Jones every day if you send down Martinez. Well, I guess Lane Thomas and Nolan Jones. But then right field is like Valera, Noel. I'm just curious to see how it goes. Like, it could be Martinez, but they're still playing him a lot, and they had him hit 2 today, so I don't think it's him. I could be wrong, but I would not be shocked if Valera is the one who goes down just because of them needing to send down an outfielder. We'll see, but yeah, he'll come up and it'll be an opportunity for him to play, and we'll see where he can go. And John Means he's the king of the hill. We'll see who gets. I'm not meaning the cartoon. I'm making a different reference there, but comment below. I feel like I've been reference heavy in this episode, but when you're looking at his overall, I'm like, that's what really stands out to me. It's like you didn't give. I mean, he didn't get a huge contract, but like all of it was put together because he's going to be a starter. So who leaves the rotation? Because I think you're right. It can't be Cantillo and Messick. You could send down Cantillo, but that seems silly because, at this point you need to see what you have with him. Messick and Ciccone, you can't send down because then you burn an option year. Unless they just don't care, unless they think like, hey, those option years, we're going to,
I totally didn't mention Ciccone. Jeez.
Yeah.
I didn't even say, I talked about like all the pitchers. I totally forgot Slade.
Well, that's again why I'm like, well, that's why this team should maybe like, and then, I love Austin Peterson. I know he may not be more than a quad A guy, but at least it's depth, right? Like they have a good amount of depth. That's why I brought up earlier the idea of, hey, this offseason trade a starting pitcher. Because there is just so much of it in a good way. And I know you can never have enough. And I'm the first person to say you can never have enough. But this team is always going to be deficient in some ways when you're one of the smallest markets in baseball. And it is. It's one of the 5 smallest markets. I believe it's like the smallest market to have 3 sports teams. It's just not a usual thing you see. So when you're looking at things like that, they're always going to struggle with gaps. So it's like, well, having that much pitching depth might actually be exorbitant for a team that has the needs it has.
They have $1 million outfielders right now.
Yeah. Well, do they have $1 million or do they have absolutely none?
Yes, they have. It's like having 2 quarterbacks in the Browns. Neither of them are good. You have 2 quarterbacks.
See, I'm old enough that it takes me back to like the first time I remember that, which is like, I want to say it was like Stanley Jackson and Joe Germain, and just hearing about it. If you had 2 quarterbacks, you got them done.
That's an Ohio State thing.
Yeah, that was back in the day. But with this team, a lot of those in my youth. But I'm curious. I haven't been the biggest believer in man. Now I'm like falling apart in Allen this year. I wanted to say Luke Allen instead of Logan Allen. I don't know why. I was really struggling there with that. But with Logan Allen, but it's like, I mean, he's been effective. There's no reason to cut him off. It's Tanner is still your ace. You're paying him a lot of money. You're paying him to be your ace. He hasn't been your ace this season. You're hoping that he'll get it back together, and I believe he will long term. And Gavin's been fantastic. So it's like, that really is to me, the most defining question of the next month. Maybe it's not for everyone else. Is like, who's going out of this rotation? Because the rotation's had its ups and downs, but it's actually been probably the most steady part of this team over the last month is the rotation. If you're looking at, is it hitting? Is it defense? Is it the bullpen? Is it the starters? I think it's the starters has been your steadiest thing. So it's like, I'm very curious to see how they navigate it. I really got to look at it because maybe there's a world where they just don't care if they burn somebody's option year. They're like, well, it doesn't matter because we're never going to use all these anyways. It'd be very unusual for them. You tend to have a ton of caution, but it's like, unless they're going to look at something like that. Because Siccone's only got 1 option, so it's not him. So it's like the guys with 3 options left are Messick, Bybee, and Williams. It's like, you're not sending down Williams, you're not sending down Bybee. Is it Messick? Potentially.
It would be strange. It would be strange to use one of Messick's options at this point. It would be odd. I don't think you want to burn it, but you're right. Maybe.
Because Allen's got 1 left, Siccone's got 1 left. Like those guys.
It's not gonna be Ciccone because you can't burn that for next year.
You can't burn the final one for him or Allen.
Yeah, I mean, these things do take care of themselves. So by the time Means is actually ready to join the rotation, maybe something will happen, and I hope nothing happens. But I don't know. Do you find a phantom injury for Parker Messick? And
you can't do those anymore. They get found out and you lose draft picks. Like you can't risk the phantom injury anymore.
Yeah,
after what happened with the Mets, they're pretty big.
I mean, you could move Cantillo to the bullpen. I think that's silly because I think you really want to see what he can do the rest of the year moving into 2026. I think that's silly. Here's another scenario too with Lane Thomas. I don't know what they're going to do with the pitching thing, but here's another scenario with Lane Thomas that I think you'll agree with. The Guardians are such a team known for this that I think if Lane Thomas comes back, he'll play quite a bit because they're going to try to help him showcase himself in free agency to help himself out, whether that's to re-sign here or somewhere else. Do you think the Guardians will give him that benefit?
No,
despite their own best interest.
No, they're known to not care about players, and players don't want to play here, and everyone thinks that Cleveland's a terrible place to be.
That sounds about right. Yeah,
no,
that's why.
no, you're 100% right. I said I was going to disagree with you. I had to disagree with you after I said that. But no, you're 100% right. They've always done right by players. That's why when there was that survey in the Athletic, they ranked pretty high for an org. Like, they're very honest with guys. They try to help players, and they do. Like, the whole thing with Carlos Santana, like, they legitimately talked to him and like worked as a team for that release. They knew they wanted the at bats for the younger guys. They also like made him up. It wasn't like all of a sudden he was blindsided. There's not a lot of orgs that do things like that. Like, that is why, even though they are a small market team, they occasionally get guys, because if your offers are equal or even a little bit more elsewhere, it's like, well, here I know this org will have my back, and you can't say that about many organizations in baseball.
Yeah, so I think it might even be to their own detriment that Lane Thomas gets too many at bats in September. I mean, there is a world where he and Nolan Jones are an interesting platoon, as they were supposed to be throughout the season, I think, at some point, and that never materialized because Jones was not good and Thomas was never healthy. So I suppose there's that side of it, but yeah, I could see him getting more playing time than maybe is beneficial to the team. It's more beneficial to him, and he'll appreciate that. Maybe that's why he comes back on a very meager deal next year to prove it, because he's going to have to take that no matter where he goes. And like you said, if all things are equal, he might as well probably come back here and see what happens. But I don't know. It's going to be weird. I mean, we're going to be playing meaningful baseball at least for another two series. We'll see. I think that this Tampa Bay series and this Kansas City series, if let's say that's 7 games, if they go 2-5, the season's over. Anything else, I don't know. Even 3-4 probably doesn't do well for them.
Yeah, I think they gotta win both series. You just
they absolutely do.
They have to win every series going forward, and hope the Mariners continue to be a team that look like they don't want to make the postseason.
Yeah, I don't know where they go after this, but I know they've got 3 more road games, so it's going to be interesting.
The Mariners the Mariners have the Braves. They have the Braves.
I mean, it doesn't matter because the Mariners don't play well on the road, so it doesn't matter where they play. All right, it does matter. Our next show, which we'll be talking about Guardians and Rays Game 1, and we'll talk about the importance of playing meaningful baseball, and we'll also go around the farm. It's the last weekend of regular season baseball for Lake County and Lynchburg, and one's going to the playoffs. One could be going to the playoffs. We'll talk about that on tomorrow's show.
As always, thank you for joining us. Remember to rate and review. Comment below. Do your part. What was your favorite moment in the game? What was your favorite moment in the month of August? We'll say thank you all. And as I always say at the end of every show, go, Guardians, go.
Disagree with Jeff.